Ever look at your old work and think,
Brother,
yeah, that was me the other day when I found this in the archives. We all start somewhere, right? Well, in this video, I'm going to redesign this old logo to see how I'd approach it differently now with years of experience under my belt. So let the redesign begin. So I designed this logo in 2020 for a beauty clinic that specializes in non-surgical cosmetic treatments. Now, just first thoughts, it is way too busy. It feels too chaotic because there's too many things going on. So if we look at it closely, we've got the faces in the background that kind of are customized into the two O's. Then we have the two typefaces, and then these are actually intertwining into each other as well. So it's just really hard to know where to look, meaning that the hierarchy is completely off. So what I'm thinking of doing, let's grab these two faces. I'm just going to pull them out of the word. And already that feels like there's a bit more space going on. You can kind of make up what the words are saying. So I think it's best for the direction of this to maybe create a logo mark out of these two faces and then have the text separated. Now, I like the idea of using the two faces because it's kind of a double entendre. It links to the name Two-Faced and then also having two faces as well. So I like that idea. Now, one thing with the logo mark is trying to link it back to the brand story, their mission, having something unique about it. Now, if I remember correctly, this brand had a mission of helping people feel, helping their customers love and feel confident in their own skin. So I like the idea of potentially using that to adjust the logo mark. So let's drag these faces across so I can just create a section over here where we're creating the logo mark. Now I like the idea that they are facing away from each other. I think that's how it was in this logo here, because it kind of shows like they're back to each other, they're being two-faced, but I need to build in that connectivity with helping people feel confident and feel loved in their own skin. So I'm going to change this to black. I just find it a lot easier working in black, so I don't get distracted with the color. So I'm thinking if we move these closer, this kind of forms a heart shape in the icon, but you can't really see it. It looks just like a very weird face. So maybe if we adjust the bottom of it. So let's remove this. I think, could we bring this section down to create that bottom of the heart? And then if I transform and reflect this, let me just see if this works. Yeah, that works. So as you can see, I need to obviously adjust this in the negative space, but already going from this face over here to now adding that bottom of the heart, you can start to see it forming a lot better. Okay, so let's duplicate this. We are going in the right direction. So to get the negative space, let's grab the brush tool and I'm going to change this to white. And then I'll just up the stroke. I think potentially if I just do this very roughly to see if this works. So if we have some sort of line breaking it up, you can still see the faces here, but you also get that really nice definition of the heart. So let's duplicate this again and just test these lines. So we could have it going down here. What about like wrapping around the face? Because then it's like that meaning of being two-faced, you're like wrapping around, and also potentially the cosmetic background of adjusting the face. That could work. So if we go withdraw from here, we can come back. That adds something to it. Just reflect this again. Oh, I like that. So it kind of like just brings it together. You can still see the heart, you can see the silhouette, but you have this really nice kind of, it just reminds you of like a bit of string like wrapping around your face, but I don't know if that's kind of sending the wrong message. I'm not sure. So let's just keep experimenting a sec. So let's try a different way. We could maybe go a little further across to the mouth or the chin. That kind of looks cool. Reflect. Which one? I think this is my favorite so far. I don't think I like it on the chin. I think that's a little bit too much. So let's go again. Where could we go now? Potentially we could kind of create a spiral on this section here. So maybe we could go here and then back around here. And just smooth it out a little bit. So I've got the brush tool and I'm just pressing Option. I think if I double click the settings, and that's not in this one, I think that's the pencil tool. This one you can Option key toggles to smooth tool, but it actually works with the brush tool as well. So if I'm pressing Option with the brush tool, I can just go over it with my mouse. Okay, let's duplicate this, transform, reflect. Ooh, okay. I think that might be a little bit too much. I quite like this one, so let's bring this down here. And maybe we could, so this one's a little bit straight here. Maybe we could bring it in a little to create that curve of the heart down the bottom. I think that might work well, so let's go in. And then, okay, that's cool. Let's just try that again. In and down. And hopefully that other line will meet at the bottom here. So a good thing about creating a logo mark for a brand is they'll be able to use this as a standalone thing. So it really helps with increasing their brand recognition. You know, their customers will see this mark and instantly recognize the brand, whereas using the typeface just as its own with the customized faces, it didn't work. And you can also use this in a lot smaller spaces, which is really crucial for a lot of brands. So I think I just need to increase the stroke. Okay, we need to bring this in slightly, so let's just move this over, adjust this section here because it's just curving around too much and indenting into that top part, which we don't want. Let's try this again. Okay, I think that could be the one, you know. Looking at it now, I don't like the wrapping around the chin. It does remind me of like getting surgery too much. And I think that there's a way of getting the meaning and the industry in your logo, but when it's too much, it could potentially scare customers off and create the wrong impression of your brand. So we need to find a good balance of both. And I think this one works well because the heart is the main focus. And then when you actually look at the logo, you see these two faces, which links back obviously to the name. So I think this could work well. So I've done a bit more further experimentation because sometimes as designers, we can get fixated on an idea and then we actually forget to push the idea further. So I like this idea, but I pushed this idea a little bit further with this section here. I just moved this path up a little to make this more dominant. I like that it looks a bit like a pearl and potentially an injection, like that bottom part there, but I don't know if that's just a little bit too far. And then this part here, I liked that it formed a diamond, but I didn't like the really strict and straight lines that are created. I think there needs to be some fluidity to remind you of that connectivity of love and confidence. So I do think this one is still the strongest, and I'm glad I continued to push that idea. So what I'm going to do is just grab this bit and put it over here because I need to test it out. Because at the moment, this is a brush stroke. It is outlined with white. So I need to expand this. So I'm going to grab them both, go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And then I'm going to pull these together, unite both of these. And then it means now if I group these together, we can use this one here, which is minus front. So this is now one solid shape. So if I needed to change the color, we don't have the brushstroke lines getting in the way. So that works. Now I just want to have a look at how it looks with the color, whether I need to make those lines a bit thicker. Potentially do. So let's grab this one again. And I'm just going to increase the stroke ever so slightly, just so there's a bit more of a gap. So when we do add that color, it's not as thin and as close. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to grab this and pull it over here and go back to the original logo. So let me just put these back because these sat in here. So we've sorted the issue of it being too overcrowded now by having that standalone mark on its own. Now we need to figure out the typefaces, because at the moment they are intertwined and it just feels a bit chaotic and also really hard to read. It actually kind of looks like a swear word in here, which isn't great for a brand. So we need to find a typeface that matches this new mark, because obviously this is thick and bold. We also need to link it back to that mission of confidence and love. So we need potentially a bold, thick, strong font to also fit with the personality, because using Too Faced as a name is quite out there in itself. So if we use something that was quite delicate like this, I don't think it would work. I'm actually just going to try it and test it to see if it does. So let's write out Too Faced, and then I'm just going to find a similar font to what this one was, because this is outlined, and in my original file, younger me forgot to put the font to the side, so I have no idea what font I use. So I'm just going to grab, let's see if I can find something similar, just to double check that the typeface will not work. I just need something similar. Give me something. Let's use this. So let's put it all caps, because that previous one was. See, because we've gone for this really bold, thick, full color logo mark, using something that has, you know, this delicacy, these thin parts to it, just it doesn't work. There's inconsistency between the both, which is something you really want to avoid when you're creating a single logo mark along with a paired typeface. So I'm going to start duplicating, because I find just having loads of options really helps me see which works well. So we're not going to go for a serif font. I think what I'm going to do is find something that is bold. So I'm going to clear all of this. Just move this to the side so I can actually see. So I think it needs to be a little bit more thicker than that. Is there a bold? No. Let's see if there's any more options. It really annoys me that when you pull this down, it covers my work. I need it to the side. Okay, let's see if there's anything. I think it needs to be, yeah, more bold. That's too much, too bold. That could potentially work. Something along the lines of this, I think. It has this strong, bold feel to it, and it matches the bold filled in colors here. There's no delicate thin parts to it. I like that it's the standalone font. I think that direction could potentially work. So let's just use the eyedropper to pick up that font, and then hopefully I can, which one was it? Jill Sands. Where are you, Jill? Hello, Jill. Okay, so we've got similar. That's quite nice with the detailing on here. I still think potentially we could go a little bit thicker. I do feel like maybe it's too much of a contrast between these sections and this part here. So, okay, let's go back and let's just have a little look. If not, I might need to go and source a font to fit my needs. But I'm hoping I've picked up quite a lot of fonts over my time. So I think that's just a bit too rigid. I feel like it still needs to have a little bit of personality in there. It's a little bit to it. See, that's too wide. That's quite nice. Oh, I quite like the arch of the A there. Potentially need to adjust. Oh, you can adjust these here. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. I like that one. Yeah, I think the thickness is perfect. I think that's my favorite so far. Let me just zoom out and have a look. Yeah, this one's too thin. This one's potentially a little bit too wide. I do really like these parts here. That one, yeah, a bit too wide, and we don't really want to go with a serif font. So I think this could potentially be the one, you know. I'm gonna keep pushing it because, as I mentioned, we can get stuck. I'm fixated on a font when there could be a better one out there. Okay, so I've continued to push it. I think my favorites are this one and this one. I just think the thicknesses really go well with the logo mark. I don't think, like, there's still contrast there, but it's in the right way. Whereas I just think this is too thin. This one's too thick. And you can just tell something's off. And when you can tell something's off in a logo, it makes you question the brand, which isn't what you want to do. So we need to make sure that the thickness is right and it feels consistent with one another. So I'm gonna grab these two and let's bring it below. As you can see, we are starting to get a little bit messy, but that is the process when you design brands. Okay. Let's have a look at these two. So I think the only difference is, so I prefer the O's on this section. I feel like they're a little bit too wide here. I really like the arch of the A, and also there's a little arch in the F. I think this potentially is just a little bit too rigid for this brand. I like the hidden quirks in the typeface. It really links back to the hidden faces in the heart. So I think this could be the strongest. So let's copy and paste this next to the original logo. Now, there is a big difference between these two. So the one I've been designing in is obviously in all black. I like to do this when creating logos because it just means that I don't get lost in color, and it keeps the design simplified, which is obviously not what I did with this design. I probably went in full color, and this is why there is issues. So not only is it not legible, we also have the issue if I wanted to get it printed in a single color, we would not be able to do so because there will be issues. So let me show you what this looks like in one full color. Immediately, the word faced gets completely lost. Now we could put an outline around this to solve that issue, but it would just add more things to this logo, which we do not want. So we have simplified, got rid of the chaos, separated the typography, created a unique logo mark that is now distinct to the brand and actually has some story and meaning behind it. Next, we need to figure out the color palette. So when it comes to a brand's color palette, there are so many things we need to take into consideration. Now, if I had done a lot more research and strategy into this brand, which I didn't do in 2020, in 2020, I just designed purely what the client wanted and the aesthetic, so the look of the brand. But whereas now a lot of my designs are based on strategy, getting to know the brand, understanding their competitors, their industry, their voice, their personality. So It's quite hard to do all of that when I don't have all of this back information. But what I've done is had a quick Google to see some common trends with beauticians' logos. And the two colors that kept cropping up were gold and black. So I think this still works well. It's just, it needs to be a little bit stronger to link back to the Too Faced name. So let's duplicate this. I'm going to outline the font so I can group these together. And I'm just going to start testing. So let's go up over here. And I want to grab these colors. I'm just going to create a new swatch so I can use the colors there. So once again, I'm just going to duplicate so I can test out the logo in real time and also compare colors against each other. So I'm just going to test it with the original colors. I do like this one. I just think it needs to be a bit deeper and darker to get their bold, two-faced tone across. So let's eyedrop this. I think we'll just go a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more red to show their like fiery side. That could work. I don't want to go too brown because I just feel like going deep and dark brown just doesn't give the right impression for this brand. We need to have a fiery, playful side to it. So I think keeping with that red tone works really nicely. So I've just gone and tested it with some more colors and I'm torn between these two. I like the fieriness of this, but I think it could potentially be a little bit too bright. And I like this, it still has that punchy, bold, fiery side, but it's just a little bit more muted. So let's copy both of these, bring them up here. I want to add another color, so we'll add a background to these. So we'll make this, let's go darker than what we've got. A bit more red into it. So this is just going to start forming a color palette. So obviously we've got that one color, but I think we need to add in a separate color. So this one works well against this color. There's a lot more contrast. It's easier to see. Let's go. Can we go a little bit darker? Going more into the brown, which I want to avoid. So I think our limit is that's too brown. Potentially be about there. So this could go a little bit lighter. Bring this across. Okay, that. See, I think that looks a little bit brown now. So I want to just make sure we're, yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm gonna experiment with these colors just so I can get two tones that work well with one another. Only real designers are going to be able to tell the slight differences of the colors that are going on here. To any normal person, I probably look insane and they're probably like, these all look exactly the same colors, but there are differences, I promise. Anyway, let's break these down. So which ones do I like? I feel like this one is too brown and it's missing that punchy side to it. It's just a little bit too muted. This one I really like. I like this one. I really like the orange and how vibrant that is. This one, potential. This one's a little bit too purpley. I think I like the background of this and the vibrancy of the orange there. So let's duplicate this and let's eyedrop this background. Yeah. Did that change? Yeah, I think so. Hold on, let me just check the hex codes. FO3. Yeah, changed. I knew it. Okay, I think I like these two combos the best. So I'm just gonna test out what the background looks like and that is the foreground. Okay, that works really nicely. So I've just popped this on a really quick mock-up just to see if it works on something physical, because it's all well and good having your idea and seeing the logo on an artboard, but when it's on an actual mock-up or something physical, it can look completely different. So make sure you're always testing your ideas to see how they work in the real world. So because this is very simple, there's not much going on compared to that original logo, it works really nicely. So if we wanted to apply, some gold foil, some embossing, this works really, really nicely because it's been designed with that simplicity in mind. So we're going to go back to the original logo and compare it against mine now. So the old logo felt very dated, cluttered and disconnected from the brand's message. And the new concept is just a lot more cleaner, modern and versatile, which is so important for businesses as they grow and expand. So while no logo can promise infinite relevance, a well-designed logo that's actually rooted in strategy. So when I say strategy, I mean there's actually intent behind it. There's research, there's things that link back to the brand stories. It's not just based on guesswork. It's not just based on your client's preferences. There is intent behind the design. And when there's intent behind the design, it will stand the test of time so much better than one that is just pure guesswork. And if you do want to learn more about strategy when it comes to design, check out this video where I dive deep into my exact strategy process for designing logos.